Funding for the Maddy Report is made possible by grants from Comcast, the Spencer family, Chevron, Community Health System, Harris Ranch Resort, Caleb and Desiree House, Producers Dairy, Valley Children's Healthcare, The Wonderful Company, Greg and Lisa Zanti, and the James B. McClatchy Foundation. Additional support provided by from the Maddy Institute, the Public Policy Institute for the Valley's Public Universities. This is the Maddy Report with Executive Director of the Maddy Institute, Blake Zanti.
Welcome to the Maddy Report. The race to replace Governor Gavin Newsom is underway, and two individuals have emerged from the June California primary election, Democrat Javier Becerra and Republican Steve Hilton. In an effort to understand each candidate's priorities and vision for the state, we've invited both candidates to join the Maddy Report. Today, we're joined by California gubernatorial candidate, Mr. Steve Hilton. Today, we'll be discussing Mr. Hilton's campaign for governor and his perspective on issues facing the state. Mr. Hilton, thanks for joining us on the Maddy Report today. Well, today we'll be discussing your campaign for governor and perspective on issues facing the state of California. To start the conversation, you've often said in your messaging that you're not a career politician. Why do you feel this sets you apart from the other candidate in the race?
Well, he really is. He's the definition of a career politician. 36 years as a career politician in the California machine. And I think that's really important because if you look at everything that's gone wrong in California and that so many people want us to fix, the fact we've got the highest cost of living in the country, gas prices the highest in the country, housing costs the highest in the country, electric bills that have more than doubled in the last 10 years, on and on, all these things. Homelessness that's still a massive problem despite billions of dollars of our money going into it. School results that are so disappointing, even though we spend among the highest in the country on that. And you look at all these problems, it really stems from the fact that we've now had 16 years of one party in control of everything in California, pushing a particular approach to these things, and the results are not good. And so I think it really is time for an outsider to come in and shake up a system that obviously isn't working, especially for working class Californians, for small business owners. Most of my career, I've been in business, a small business owner. I started a couple of restaurants before moving here with my wife and my sons in 2012 from England. But I've also worked in the government. I've got business experience, government reform experience back in the UK. I worked as senior advisor to the Prime Minister in 10 Downing Street. So I think that's the range of expertise and experience we need, but I'm an outsider to the system here in California, and I think we can all see we desperately need change. Enough is enough, people are saying. I hear that everywhere. It's time for change, and let's fix California.
I'm glad you brought that up because you talked about your experience as a business owner, your experience working in the UK government for the Prime Minister. Talk a little bit about more about that experience and how it maybe has influenced your career and philosophy and maybe even your campaign for governor.
Well, I think it teaches you, having worked right there at the heart of a government, and it's pretty much the same, obviously very different in many ways. It's the UK, this is California, same kind of scale, same kind of size in terms of the scale of the operations. And I just think that what it really taught me more than anything else is how hard it is to make change happen. Most of the focus of my time there was on policy reform in terms of things like cutting back bureaucracy and waste in the government, the business climate, helping families, practical day-to-day things. And it's really difficult to fight against an entrenched bureaucracy. That's what we've got in Sacramento today, because we haven't had any change or challenge. We're celebrating America's 250th anniversary this year. One of the foundational ideas in the Constitution is checks and balances. We haven't had that in California. It's just been all one direction. As a result of that, the bureaucracy has just grown and grown and grown. And now we've got this bloated nanny state bureaucracy that's bossing everyone around, telling us how to live, how to run our businesses, how to raise our kids, what kind of car to drive, what kind of house you can be. It's too much. The burdens are too great. Running a small business in California today is a nightmare with all the red tape and the fees and permits and taxes and nonsense you have to put up with. And I saw firsthand how difficult it is to actually overcome that. And so that's really given me a lot of clarity about how we go about that task here in California, because really that's the most important thing. Like, my campaign is very straightforward. I can actually tell you what it is in one word: Cal-affordable. Make our state Cal-affordable. And the components of that are very specific. $3 gas, cut utility bills in half, your first 150 grand tax-free, starter homes for young families. But as to how you deliver those things, nearly always it comes down to reining in this bloated bureaucracy and all the cost that it imposes. And so my experience trying to do that, not always successfully, in the UK government has really given me the experience I need to make sure we do it well here in California.
Thank you. We're going to take a quick break. We'll talk about Cal-affordable in just a second. I want to get to that in our next segment. Up next, we'll discuss some of the key drivers that Steve Hilton's campaign focuses on. This is the Maddy Report. Welcome back. The Maddy Report has invited both California gubernatorial candidates to sit down and share their perspective and vision with Valley residents. Here with us today is Mr. Steve Hilton. Thank you again for joining us today, Steve. Really appreciate you being on the program. On your website, you've built really two priorities for your campaign, and you just were touching on one of them right before we went to the break a few minutes ago. Cal-affordable, focusing on lowering costs, and Cal-future, which you describe as sort of growing opportunities in California.
Yes.
Talk to us about those priorities. What do those mean, and how are you going to achieve those two priorities in your if you are elected governor?
So the Cal-future part of the plan is all about dealing with actually one of the saddest things that I've seen now on the, up and down the state on the campaign trail. And even before that, for 3 years before that, I started and ran a policy organization developing solutions to our problems here in California. It's called Golden Together. And over those years now of really focusing on all this, one of the saddest things is when you talk to young people, particularly, I do events on college campuses or with young people, and you ask them, you're going to stay in California, how do you see the future? And they say, no, I'm not going to stay here. I have to move. If I ever want the chance to own my own home or to build a business or whatever it may be, you can't do that in California anymore. It's really sad. We are losing our future. And that's what Cal-future is all about. And there's some simple components to it. In a way, the first one shouldn't even need to be said, but I'm afraid it does. Every student reads by 3rd grade. Now, you would think that's obvious, but actually today, less than half of our students in public schools meet basic standards on English. With math, it's 35%. And the starting point, we've seen this from many other states, but in particular Mississippi, which has had a really spectacular success in the last 10 years or so, with some simple changes that have taken Mississippi, people may not believe this, but it's true, from almost the bottom in terms of achievement in America out of all 50 states to nearly at the top. And they spend 1/3 as much as we do per student. And some simple things they've done is focus on reading. For example, the clear learning from everyone who studied this is that up till 3rd grade, you're learning to read. After that, you're reading to learn. And if you can't read, you can't learn anything. And so 3rd grade reading is a really important benchmark. So in Mississippi, what they do is they say, if you get to the end of 3rd grade and you can't meet basic standards in reading, give you some help over the summer. If you still can't make it, we're not going to send you up to 4th grade. We'll keep you back until you actually pass that threshold. That's really, it's had hugely positive results. So that's the first one. Second one is skills training in every school. We have such rapid change in the job market. You've got AI, you've got all these things. The real advantage will be for people who've got the skills, especially practical skills, to get the jobs that are going to be out there. We've got the highest unemployment rate in the country, and you've got businesses leaving because there aren't enough skilled workers. And factories are being built, semiconductor, all these high-tech manufacturing. It's happening in other states. We've got to have that skilled workforce here in California. So a big part of it is skills training in schools, apprenticeships, and all of that. Thirdly, the cost and hassle of running a business, the bloat that is just engulfing, putting handcuffs on small business owners like I used to be. We've added up the cost of it. It's $745 billion a year. If we got rid of that, we wouldn't be just what we are today, the 4th biggest economy in the world. We'd be the 3rd biggest. So we're going to get rid of all that bloat in the regulation of business. And then finally, one thing that's close to my heart It sounds like a small thing, but for every small business owner, it's a big thing. You have to pay the government, regardless of whether you make money as a small business. Any business does it, but it particularly hurts small business, $800 a year, just for existing. It's just completely ridiculous. It's just a gouging businesses for no good reason, so we're going to scrap that.
Thank you, Steve. We're going to take another quick break. We'll be right back after this. This is the Maddy Report. Welcome back to the Maddy Report. We've invited both candidates for California governor to join the Maddy Report. Joining us today is Mr. Steve Hilton. Steve, thanks for joining us today. Let's shift gears and discuss some issues impacting the San Joaquin Valley specifically. I'd like to get your thoughts and perspective on a few issues. The San Joaquin Valley, as you probably know, produces more than half of the state's agricultural output and is a key driver to the nation's food supply. In a recent interview with AgNet West, you described ending the, and I quote, war on agriculture in your visits to farming communities. What are some concerns that you've noticed or expressed when you're meeting with residents and folks throughout the San Joaquin Valley?
Well, I just want to say how much I've loved getting to know the Valley and our farmers and ag industry. I've been coming here for years. And it's heartbreaking to see what's happening. And that phrase that I use, the war on agriculture, that's just reflecting what people say to me. That's how people feel. And I remember I've seen every part of this story. I've been in the fields at harvest time. I've been there for the pistachio harvest, tomato harvest. I've been I've seen all of it, the processing. I've really, melons and nuts and all the different, produce. I mean, I can't say I've literally participated in the farming of every single thing that's grown, but pretty much, honestly, over the years. And I've seen it from the perspective of small family farms and some of the biggest in the world. And everyone tells the same story, which is this sense that the people in charge in Sacramento, not just that they don't listen to us, they don't hear us, they don't see us, they don't help us, there's a sense that they are actively targeting the ag industry as a problem, that they see agriculture as a problem. It's so crazy to do with, resource use. Oh, they're stealing our water, and we were in drought, and they're stealing all our water to grow almonds. What? Excuse me, the farmers are growing our food and growing the healthy food. Let's remember, what we grow in California is the healthy food that we want people to be eating across our country to make, as the saying goes, make America healthy again. So it is this sense of real assault on the industry.
You mentioned healthy food. Health and healthcare are a huge issue in this region. Over 50% of the residents in the Valley are on Medi-Cal healthcare, subsidized healthcare. Access to healthcare remains a challenge in the San Joaquin Valley. Roughly 30% fewer primary care physicians in the state than the state average here in the Valley. What specific policies would you pursue to recruit and retain more healthcare professionals here in the Valley? Well,
first of all, we have to stop making it so hard, and we have to reduce the costs because that's that's what's being squeezed. And so you look at hospitals, for example. I was here in Fresno, big hospital in Fresno the other day. Huge bill for seismic refit. That just doesn't make any sense given the risk here. It's a blanket policy for the whole state. And you add it all up, it's $100 billion for the whole state. 50 to 60 hospitals are going to close if we're not careful. So we've got to stop that. It makes no sense. There's a lot of cost pressures in the system that are squeezing the whole supply. For example, union-driven regulations on staffing and rules around that. I just think like with so many other parts of what go on in California, there's just way too much bureaucracy and cost, and that's what makes it so hard to operate, and that's when budgets get scaled back and there's no money to hire doctors, which is what we all want to have in a sufficient supply. And so I think some of those changes I'm going to make will help with that issue.
Thank you. We're going to take another quick break, and then we'll wrap up our conversation with gubernatorial candidate Steve Hilton. This is the Maddy Report. Welcome back. In an effort to understand the platforms of each gubernatorial candidate, we've invited both of them to join us. We hope to schedule a conversation with former Secretary Javier Becerra soon. Here with us today, though, is Mr. Steve Hilton. Before you go, I would like to discuss the overall state of the Republican Party here in the state of California and your campaign. Now, you've been endorsed by President Trump, and you've expressed how you see this as a benefit rather than a challenge to your campaign in a predominantly Democrat state. How have you felt this endorsement has changed your campaign? positively or negatively? And what's your message to Democrats who might view this as a hindrance?
Well, it hasn't really changed the campaign one way or the other because, remember, I didn't ask for the endorsement. It was a surprise when it came. I was honored to receive it. I'm a new American citizen. Just on a basic level, it's just a great honor to be endorsed by the President of the United States. And I've said that in particular in relation to agriculture, actually, I think it's useful for us to have a governor who has a good relationship, a working relationship with the President and his team. I know the Ag Secretary, Brooke Rollins, very well, and I'm sure we're going to have really useful a really useful working relationship that will help farmers and everyone else in the Valley and beyond when you've got that constructive relationship. I think that it's obvious, it's no mystery that there are many people in California who don't like President Trump. That's very obvious. And so when we launched our general election campaign, that was just a couple of weeks ago, we actually, ran ads in the LA Times and in the San Francisco Chronicle and in the more heavily Democratic parts of the media in our state to say, look, there's a simple question. Can you be anti-Trump and still vote for me? And the answer is yes. President Trump isn't running for governor of California. I am. I'm a different person. I'm a problem-solving, pragmatic guy with business experience, government reform experience. I don't want to tell anyone how to live. I just want everyone in California to be able to live the life that they want. My plans are very non-ideological, just simple, common sense, practical solutions. I'm the common sense candidate in this race, and someone who's really fighting for change. And so you've got millions of people in California who don't like President Trump, but strongly believe we need change. And to all of those people, I'm very clearly saying, yes, I'm your guy. I want to focus on making life more affordable, better for everyone in California in a practical way.
Now, we're experiencing heightened political division, as you probably can tell, throughout the United States and in California, often leaving issues that both parties recognize as important unresolved, some of which you've brought up here today in your interview. If elected, how would you work with both Republicans and Democrats? The Central Valley's unique, as you know. We have both Republicans and Democrats representing us, both at the state and federal levels. How would you work together and be a pragmatic problem solver, as you stated, to overcome some of these obstacles facing our state?
Well, it's who I am, really. I'm not a tribal, divisive kind of person. I've always had many strong friendships right across the political aisle. Of course, most of my career, I haven't been involved directly in politics, but even when I was in politics, I mean, we talked about my experience there in the UK government. I was senior advisor to a Conservative Prime Minister, but it was a coalition government. It was two parties working together. I helped negotiate the coalition agreement. I was actually there in 10 Downing Street. I had my little office next to the cabinet room. I shared it with my opposite number in another party, the Liberal Democrats. That was the name of the party. We sat there opposite each other and, hashed it out every single day. We were right at the heart of the policy process, and we would try and figure out ways to work together. It didn't always succeed, but we found a way to make it work. I've got experience doing that. And I also would say that during the primary, it was very clear that there actually are real areas of agreement between me and the Democrats. Certainly many of us had the same analysis. People like Antonio Villaraigosa, the former mayor of LA, Katie Porter, the former congresswoman from Orange County, Matt Mahan, the mayor of San Jose. We really agreed on a lot of different things. Katie Porter actually adopted my tax plan as hers and said so in the debates. Antonio and I really agreed on a bunch of stuff. Matt Mahan and I very strongly agreed on housing policy, what we need to make that less bureaucratic and easier to build. So I think we will be able to find common ground. And that absolutely will be my goal as governor, to bring people together behind common sense, practical solutions.
Thank you. Mr. Steve Hilton, thanks for joining the Maddy Report today.
Thank you.
We really appreciated you being on the show.
Great to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to all of you for tuning into the Maddy Report. To learn more about the Maddy Institute, visit themaddyinstitute.org. What makes a community thrive? How do we bridge the gap between government and policy and the people it impacts? The Maddy Institute was founded to answer questions like these, to create a link between government and the citizens it serves, and to inspire a new generation of leaders dedicated to public service. In 1999, the California legislature unanimously established the Maddy Institute in honor of former California State Senator Kenneth L. Maddy. Senator Maddy was widely respected for his commitment to bipartisan solutions and his dedication to the people of California's Central Valley. Known for his ability to work across the aisle, Senator Maddy believed that effective government begins with respectful dialogue, evidence-based policy, and a commitment to the common good. Today, the Maddy Institute continues his legacy. Our mission is threefold. 1, to promote more effective and inclusive government. 2, to encourage civic engagement. And 3, to conduct research on key issues impacting the Central Valley. Through these efforts, we aim to educate, inspire, and empower the next generation of public servants and community leaders. One of the most impactful ways we fulfill this mission is through our internship programs. Each year, the Maddy Institute provides opportunities for students from the Central Valley to work in legislative offices, both in Sacramento and Washington, D.C., as well as local government agencies. These internships give students real-world experience in policymaking, allow them to see government in action, and help them build the skills they need to make a difference in their communities. But the Maddy Institute isn't just for students. Through our civic engagement programs, we create opportunities for everyone to participate in the political process. From community forums to workshops, we bring people together to discuss important issues facing the Central Valley, like water management, air quality, economic development, and education. These events foster open dialogue, allowing citizens to engage directly with policymakers, experts, and others, creating a stronger and more informed community. And to ensure the public stays informed, the Maddy Institute produces the Maddy Report, a weekly public affairs broadcast that covers the latest issues impacting California. Each episode features interviews with lawmakers, journalists, and subject matter experts, providing insights and analysis on topics that matter to our region. Whether it's understanding new legislation or exploring solutions to local challenges, the Maddy Report is a trusted source of information for those who want to stay engaged. At the heart of everything we do is a belief that good governance requires an informed and engaged public. From nurturing young leaders to fostering dialogue, the Maddy Institute is dedicated to creating a future where the people of the Central Valley can thrive. Join us as we continue Senator Maddy's legacy. Together, we can build a brighter future, one informed and engaged citizen at a time. The views expressed in the Maddy Report are those of the individuals participating in the program and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Maddy Institute. If you'd like to share your thoughts about today's episode of the Maddy Report, please visit our website at maddyinstitute.com.